Oh, welcome back. We are live again with her bold voice. I have this amazing. All right. My opinions are very biased. I claim them. All my guests are amazing. But Janice, oh my gosh, Janice and I met right here on LinkedIn. Do you remember that? Several years ago.
We did.
And I'm getting a notification that my Facebook is not connected. So, we'll just let that go. As long as we're live here on LinkedIn, that's all that matters. Anyways, welcome back to another Her Bold Voice LinkedIn live show where I showcase some amazing, fascinating risk-taking women, but they're doing it in their bold voice on their terms, success on their terms. They're doing everything on their terms. And as I say, women, there's a couple spots for some great, fascinating men as well. So I'm going to jump right on in. Janice Sutherland, CEO and founder of This Woman Can, an award-winning leadership and personal development company, passionately empowers mature, professional female leaders to align their careers with personal values and professional priorities. With over 25 years of experience in a pivotal leadership roles across the UK and in the Caribbean, Janice made history as the first female CEO in the telecom sector in Antigua and Barbuda. I always say Barbuda.
Barbuda, that's right.
Barbuda, thank you. Yes. Yeah. An expert in unleashing the full potential of maturing workforces, Janice collaborates with organizations on pre-retirement transitioning. Her illustrious career, journey, and triumph over multiple transitions uniquely positioned her to understand and address the challenges faced by women. She affectionately labels the triple threat: Black, female, and over 50. And I'm going to protest that, because over 50, we're like wine. We're just getting warmed up.
I've changed that now, the triple threat, to the dynamic trinity.
Oh, I love it. Janice's rich journey from corporate CEO to executive coach fuels her mission. She shares strategies derived from her experience to cultivate confidence, presence, and influence, breaking through the leadership barriers. Author of the bestseller, This Woman Can, the no bullshit guide for women who lead, and the host of the This Woman Can podcast, which, by the way, everybody get on that podcast. Janice inspires mid-career women to embrace authenticity, dream big, and achieve their career goals. I am like insanely so excited to have you here today. And it's like it's here in America, and I know it's no different with TV commercials and stuff around the world, is, they're still putting out these commercials of, when women past a certain age should be wearing hair and dressing. I'm like, I want to be doing this. It's like, oh, come on, and ads on Instagram. Oh, clothes for women over 50. I'm like, clothes for what? I will never buy from that company. So I love what you are doing. So let's just jump in.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how you have stepped away from corporate and into this executive role so that you can in turn help female executive leaders.
Wow. Well, I don't want to make it too long a story, but it probably started in my 40s. A little known fact, which I don't mind sharing, is that I'm going to be 60 this year. So I'm already on my road of what I call my 60 years of fabulousness. So I'm celebrating, going towards my 60th birthday, but it started in my 40s when I met my now husband, who shared with me that he wasn't staying in the UK. He had planned to, move to Jamaica. That was his goal. That was his dream. Then I'm like, oh, it's all right. It's all right. Meantime, I had two children from my first marriage. And I said, but we'll see how it goes. You seem like a bit of a keeper. I've kissed a few frogs. Maybe this one could be the prince. And he had potential. So a few years down the line, my youngest son's gone to university, still doing my career. And I thought, well, maybe this is the time we start looking to move, but maybe it's not Jamaica because it's a bit too much for me. I never feel entirely settled. Come and see Antigua, where my mom was born. And he did. We brought mom back. We took her for a holiday and stuff like that. And he loved it. So then we started the plan. We bought the plot of land. we built the house with the plan of renting it out for a few years before we move across. But once the house was built and it was a labor of love, I'm like, I can't do this. I can't let somebody else live in this house before me. So then we embarked on a plan for me to, well, for us to move. As I said, my youngest son went to university. It seemed like the ideal time. We were now empty nesters, and we'd make the move. I managed to get a job. I'd had successful jobs, successful career in the UK, but I didn't want to operate at that level anymore. I knew that. I wanted to take a step down, so I took a step back as a commercial role here with a telecoms company here. But they obviously saw my potential and knew my potential. So over a few years, I rose to become the CEO. When I got to the CEO, I was now in my 50s, and I'm like, oh man, this was not the plan. I didn't come here to work this hard and never see the country that I've adopted, that I've moved to, that I never saw a beach. We've got 365. I never saw one of them because I was constantly working. So I was also the main breadwinner at this point as well. And I was having lots of inner turmoil, lots of inner conversations myself about what do I do? How can I leave? What does it look like? And my husband turned around to me and said, if you want to leave, leave. You've been doing it 7 years. It's also the longest I'd ever stayed at any organization in my career, because I always moved after 3 to 4 years. And I just left. I gave I can't say I just left. I gave 6 months notice is what I did. But in the interim, what I was also doing was taking my coaching qualifications and start to lay a little bit of a foundation about what I would do next. And I think that was just the start of the journey. And unbeknownst to me, when I look back at when I was doing that, at what I was going through, I also realized I was menopausal. I was going through menopause at the same time. It didn't click because I was that stressed with what I was doing. The menopause just didn't come into my head. I was having the missed period and all that kind of, yeah. It is what it is. It is what it is. But that was it. I was that focused on work. So yeah, that's kind of the step that got me to where I am right. Got me to, 7 years ago, almost 7 years that I made that move.
Wow. First of all, I heard so many things in that. Number one, happy birthday early. Welcome to my club.
Thank you. I'm happy to be there.
Oh, yes. Secondly, wow. To be able to arrive, so many women want to arrive to those executive leadership positions. We don't have enough to this day in this 21st century. It's like, we don't have enough women in those C-suite roles, and to arrive there, but to recognize, Janice, that, I don't want to work this hard. There's beaches all around me. I haven't even seen the beach because I'm working so hard. And by the way, I'm going to get, a little off the cuff here this morning. Is why do we have to work that damn hard when we get to those C-suite positions? Yeah. It's like, who said? It's like, who are those voices that are going, if you don't work 14 hours a day, you're nothing but a schlub. And on top of it, you're a woman, so you better work 16. And on top of it, you're a woman of color, you better work 18, because we're going to be viewed as being nothing but losers and slups, and you're going to get fired.
Absolutely. I think it's a combination of things. I think the expectation has been set over the years. And I also think we feel that we have to do it.
Yeah.
So, it's about finding what it is you actually want, because what I find is that you are just meeting the needs of everybody else and not your needs. And we don't take the time to stop and think about it. What is it that makes us happy? What is it that we really want from what we're doing? Mm-hmm. The title doesn't do it. The money doesn't do it. The clothes, the car, the house, if you've got all that and you're still feeling unsettled or not feeling in the right place, then it's something else.
Yeah, I agree. We are a society of this thing over here called a career, a business, money, is to help us over here with our personal lives, our families, when it should be personal lives, families should be helping push this over here. It's that the values, the morals, the integrity, you know, and you and I mean, you stepped away from corporate a lot more recent than me. It's been 20 years for me. It's been a long time. But even as entrepreneurs, as CEOs, founders, whatever damn title we want to carry as women in our businesses, we still have to remember the business does not push the personal. The business, because Kim is watching Janice and, oh my God, Janice has got this picket fence and or, oh my God, funnel enough of all of that.
Yeah. One of the biggest things I've had to face in my entrepreneurial journey was that I was always raised with success equals hard work. And that has been one of the hardest things for me to overcome, to think that I'm sitting here, I'm not doing enough. I haven't got this, I haven't got that. And I really had to check myself and say, okay, if you wanted all of that, if you wanted all that pressure, that work, all that workload, you could have got that in the corporate world. You had it, but it wasn't what you wanted. So what is it you want right now? So I really have to check myself, and I had to divorce myself from the fact that success doesn't equal hard work, or just because I work hard doesn't mean I'll be successful. What I need to do is work a little bit smarter, and even have create my own personal boundaries, even working for myself. Because, you know, as an entrepreneur, that, you know, we're accessible. We're even more accessible to ourselves because we're going to do more work. We're going to do this. We can do this while watching TV, you know, and we don't stop. So I've really had to force myself to, divorce myself from that philosophy. That hard work will bring success, or success equals hard work.
Yeah. And that hard work is just, like you said, that's not a mathematical equation, everybody, you know. And I was raised in a family, they did not push education. They push work. Yeah. And if you work and you're there and they offer you overtime, you take, you know, the overtime and everything like that. It's just in fact, I just did this morning. I looked at my calendar and I went, you're not doing enough today, Kim, for the business building of it. Whoa, hold on. Whoa. You know, before we even came on here, it's like, you know, I was sitting down having a breakfast and, you know, getting ready. And I'm like, don't you think you should be doing something else? Oh, there's that crappy word, should. Oh, and it's like, wow, why isn't what I do have scheduled today doing is enough? And before we carry on here, Janice, I see everybody coming on and making comments. We're not ignoring you, ladies. Wendy, Carrie, Emily, we're not ignoring you. I'm focusing in on the conversation and focusing in on Janice as well. But we'll swing back around after the show and make some comments. I appreciate you all coming on. But real quickly, I'm going to say what Carrie said is the impact. You know, and proudly speak about menopause. And maybe that could be maybe a multi-woman show I could do around that menopause, because talk about shame around all of that. It's like enough of all of this around women.
Yeah. And just to touch on that, it is something we need to talk about, because we need to talk about menopause when you're at the top can be very different, because there is an image you believe you have to portray. And it isn't the sweaty mess in the corner sometimes fanning themselves. Though, to be honest, it got to the point where I would have to be when I did realize what was happening, I had to be very open about, this is what's happening. You know, I couldn't afford to not be vocal about it, to get the support I needed or the understanding of my team, because I could be erratic. I could have the little temper tantrums. I am so blessed to be still married right now, because my husband took the brunt of it. Mm-hmm. You know, because with the pressure from work and the hormone changes, he was the person I took it out on. Yeah. So there's a whole conversation around that. So, but that's maybe for another time.
Yeah. And that is true, though. We usually take it out to the closest ones, you know, take things out on the closest ones, which is behind closed doors in the privacy of our homes, on our partners, if we do have partners. But yeah, that's the whole other thing. So, all right. that was a bold move in my world. You know, my branding bold, Boudreaux bold, you know, that was a bold move, stepping away from that amazing, working hard, getting to that CEO, that C-suite. So share with me some other bold moves, Janice, maybe prior to that or since then of stepping away from that.
I think prior to that, I think when I look at it, my whole life has probably been bold moves. I got married very young. The first time they say marry in haste, repent at leisure. I was one of those. So I was 19. I had my first child when I was 21 and my second when I was 26. Got divorced in my 20s. Still had two young children and went to university as a mature student. So managed to maneuver, find a way to take my youngest child with me to university. He'd be sitting in classes, in my evening classes, in his pushchair while I was taking my last class of the day to go home. Then there's, I suppose, moving countries. It's the whole fact of moving countries. There's been, in my career, there's been opportunities where I have recognized what I bring to the table. I know I've been very clear on what I bring to the table. And it's not a case of just knowing what you bring to the table. It's a case of believing in what you're worth. So I've asked one particular company I worked at. I asked for a position that I wanted. I recognized, I knew what I brought. I knew what I was doing. And I was told, no, it's not your time. It's not this, whatever the reason was. And I had the attitude. I remember saying to my husband, we weren't married just then. And he was like, you've got a really good job. What do you mean you're going to leave? I said, I'm leaving. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, they're not giving me what I want. Not giving me, and if they can't give it to me, somebody else out there will. And I will find them. And I did and left. And, it was a decent salary, really good job. And he's like, how? I said, because I know what I'm worth, So for me, it's all about, and don't get me wrong, I do have those wobbles. There's times I have those wobbles. We all do. I think it's natural, it's natural. But I think having that self-belief and knowing what you're worth and what you bring to the table, that clarity, I feel like it'd be invincible personally.
It's one of my favorite C words, clarity, along with compassion and confidence. And and collaboration. There's so many, but that clarity. Here's what I want to say to that, Janice, is if we all, every single woman out there that metaphorically, because we're hybrid or you are physically getting in a car and driving to a brick and mortar and you work inside an organization, the self-belief has got to be embedded. And instead of bringing to the table, I'm going to fake this until I make it. Ooh, I get a stiff neck when I hear that stuff. It's like, because I did that stuff for many years and I was very successful. I was very successful at it. Faking until we make it, playing small, holding back because I'm the new kid on the block. I can't speak up because for fear I'm going to get fired. That organization that you're working for out there is not the only organization. And if they're not, first of all, if they're not recognizing the value that you bring to a table, I'm going to say first and foremost, and I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart with as much compassion as I can say this with, is check in with yourself and making sure that you're bringing to the table that self-belief.
Yeah.
And then if they're not relishing in that self-belief, then it needs to be done like what Janice said. Look, I got this job. I'm going to go find something else out there. And when I find it, then I'll make the transition.
Yeah.
And doing it that way. It's like back when you were in this last position, you're like, oh, I'm going to go get my coaching certification and things like that. It's like, can we not just do one thing, stop, go off the ledge, and then want to do something else? I'm a big I like to strategize and have things in place. So things are ebbing and flowing so that we're not start, stop going, holy shit, what did I do now? I'm really cursing a lot this morning. I better knock that off. Holy, what have I done now? So that's beautiful, that self-belief. And bringing, I mean, from the bottom of my heart, you know, I would love for every woman, no matter what they're doing. And I don't care if you're at home managing a household. I don't want to hear, I'm a stay-at-home mom. You're managing a household, which is something I would never want to do. And I don't think I'd be good at it. You know, I don't have kids. So is that self-belief. Not, hey, I'm really good at this. That self-belief.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that'll lower the fears and the goobly gobblies, that inner critical talk.
I mean, I work predominantly with Black women. That's who I like to work. That's my niche. And the one thing I always tell them when they're organizations is that an organization doesn't employ you to fail. That's not what they're doing, because they've hopefully they've done their job right. It's gone through a very long process of recruiting the right person, interviewing, you know, doing the checks, all that kind of stuff to bring you on board. They saw in you what they need in their business. So if they can see that in you, why don't you believe that in you? Why can't you see that? And that's what I tell them. And, you know, and again, from a Black woman's perspective, we have, as you said, we've done so much to do the extra to get to where we are. We've got that little extra je ne sais quoi, as they say, you know, so believe in that. We didn't get to where we were without having that extra oomph, what was needed. So tap into that and use it to your advantage. Use it knowingly.
So how do you take clients so that they're shifting to really redefining success? And as we mature, and I always like to throw in on our terms, our terms.
Yes.
Like, are there steps and tips and tools and tricks of the trade that you take your clients through from your wisdom and experience?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I think they need to understand why we actually need to redefine. Why do we need to do that? Why do we need to relook at what it looks like? Because the values we had in our 20s, our 30s, certainly, as far as I'm concerned, shouldn't be the same values we're chasing in our 50s. We have some discernment by this point, hopefully, under our belt. So it's about getting to understand, as we touched on, values. What is it you're actually looking for? First of all, actually, let me take a step back. We are living longer, fact. Retirement ages are increasing, fact. If you're 50 or 40, you've got 25 to 15 years of work life. So the first question I ask is, do you see yourself doing that for the next 15 plus years? Mm-hmm. And if the answer is no, okay, so you know that's not what you're going to do. What is it you want your future to look like? Where, and it's that old question, sometimes, where do you see yourself in X amount of years? I don't put that pressure on. I'm looking about what is it you want from career, from life in X amount of years? Or how do you want to feel? And I touch on the feelings, you know, how do you want to feel about it? How comfortable do you want to be? What's important to you down the line? For me, it was spending more time in my garden. That was a pivotal thing for me. Spending more time in my garden was like, how do I get to do that? You know, I didn't need to have the external validation. I didn't need to be seeing at the opening of an envelope. I didn't need to be, you know, I just didn't need all of those things. What I needed was to feel happy, was to spend time enjoying what I was doing, spend quality time with my husband, because I wasn't getting to do that. So my values had changed. So we start looking at what those values are. We start looking, what are your priorities? What do you want? What's a priority to you? As women, we are very, very, very good at putting ourselves last. Mm-hmm. Something always comes before us. We're always last in the pecking order about what we need. So I ask them, put yourself first. Self first is not selfish. So what is it that you want going forward? And when we do that, we start creating the plan, the blueprint for what it looks like. It's not overnight. And I'm not telling people it's an overnight thing, because what you want may take a little more time to accrue. Maybe it's some financial position you want to be in that enables you to do this. But what does that plan look like for you to get there? So yeah, I think I've answered that question.
Yes, you did. Yes. You did. You answered. Yes, you answered that question. Yes, absolutely. You know, it's getting really getting curious with ourselves, just getting curious with what is it that we don't, it's not want. How do you want to feel? I ask a lot of my clients, that's one of my, how do you want to feel? Well, I mean, like for me in the morning, I want to feel when I get up out of bed, I don't want to feel the aches and pains as I'm aging. And plus everyone's got to remember, I'm an ex-high-impact aerobic instructor, many years of jumping up and down, you know, it's like, I've got my priorities. So I know in order to, when I wake up in the morning, I want to be able to move without the cricks and the crannies and all that. I know what I need to do with that, you know, and my success, like you're talking about, Janice, is you want to spend more. I would love to spend more time in my garden, but it's winter here in Michigan. I do that all year round. You know, is being able to spend more time in a garden, if that's what's going on with you. For me, I want to travel more. And by the way, here's my non-negotiable when I'm traveling. There's no working on those trips.
Yeah.
There's no, I mean, we're traveling, like we're going to Europe. We've worked to get to these trips. I'm not working on those. I don't work on those. I'm enjoying myself. I'm forgetting about time. We were just, in fact, I was just talking about this with somebody the other day. The only thing I do when I'm on my trips is I have to check in because I've got the 2 dogs back here with the pet sitter. That's it. I don't talk to anybody. I am not posting on, so I'm on vacation, you know? So it's recognizing what not only do we want, but how do we want to feel? You know, do we want to feel happy, joyous? I want to feel calm. I want to feel like I'm Steven Tyler and Aerosmith, you know, but get into, one of my favorite bands, but feel into that, ladies. And you're right, Janice. We always place ourselves down at the pecking order. Yeah. We've got a partner. We've got careers, we've got a business, we've got kids. Oh, I got to do this for my friend. Oh, I got to do this for my other friend. Oh, I got to do this for my other friend. And before you know it, we're past 6 feet under that where we put ourselves. It's really placing ourselves first. And I like that you said that it's not selfish. It's quite self-fulfilling when we place ourselves first. It's very self-fulfilling. What are some of your challenges with your, you know, me about my inner critic? I always like to call her that hag in the attic. What are some of the challenges that, even though where you are at now in your life and entering the 6th playground, the 60th playground, what are some of the challenges that you still face?
Well, I mean, I said the main challenge I had was the success equals hard work. Mm-hmm. The second thing I think coming with age sometimes is forgetting that I am that age. You know, sometimes I forget there's things I want this, and I haven't it doesn't stop me, but sometimes I have to check myself, go, how, oh yeah, you are, you know, but it's all good. I'm good with that. So I also take the expectation off me. I'm a marathon runner, or I would say former marathon runner, but once a marathon runner, always a marathon runner. But injury and the aging process means I can't run. I can't run anymore, but I can walk. So instead of setting myself the target about I can't do that anymore, my mindset is, okay, what can you do?
What can you do?
What can you do? So I cycle and I walk. I was a national champion, cycling champion here in my 50s. Right? Just getting on a bike. I've set myself the goal of walking a marathon for next year. When I turn 60, I want to walk a marathon. So it's understanding that the limitations I place on myself are self-imposed.
Yes. You know that those limitations, and excuse me as I jump, those self-limitations. We create those. We design them. We create them. That inner critic, everybody in there, everyone listening, but that inner critic, and I do. I call my inner critic the hag in the attic. We design it. We create it. We allow it. It is us. It is us. It's not this outside persona of something else. It is us, and either we can keep boxing, or we can take the gloves off and learn how to be compassionate with ourselves and just simply, I love that, shift the mind. You know, okay, I'm an ex-high-impact aerobic instructor. Oh my God, when you're talking running a marathon, I'm over here going, oh my gosh, no way. But I'll tell you what, I can walk. I can walk. I can hike. I can do other things. I love that mindset shift. Love it.
And then the other thing would be perfectionism. Because I tell people, I say I have a MacGyver mindset. And my MacGyver mindset is that I see a problem and I can see a solution, but I accept it doesn't have to be pretty. I focus on what's the outcome I'm looking for, the objective. I'm looking for it to do X. I'm not looking for it to be pretty and all, totally presentable, etc., etc. I moved away from that. I focus on what's the outcome I'm seeking. Does what I'm looking to do deliver on that outcome? Doesn't matter how pretty or unpretty it is. I focus on that. So I do move away from perfectionism. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't creep in occasionally, because we were talking off air about LinkedIn and not doing enough on LinkedIn, all of this kind of stuff. And sometimes I'm looking for the perfect post. I write a lot in my head when I'm on my walking, and I put stuff in my phone, and I'm going, well, if it's not a post, what can it be? Sometimes I want to write it, or I don't want to do a video. So I'll make it into a social media post. I'll make it into a podcast recording. I don't have to be on camera. I keep thinking sometimes I want to be, but then I'm thinking, when I'm on camera, my best ideas come when I'm sweaty, walking 3 or 4 miles in the morning.
Yes.
And that's when I get my inspiration. So I've decided, well, if I get my inspiration, then you're going to get it when I get it. Right. And this is real life. This is real life. And I did a recent post where I talked about a Monique interview, and I talked about auditioning it. And I was in my headband, sweaty, walking, but it came to me. So I'm like, and this is life. This is what happens. We don't wake up looking like this 24/7. This takes a bit of effort. In the morning, I'm walking. I'm doing what I need to do to keep me happy.
That's the humanness. A lot of the coaching that I do with women reclaiming their voices and presenting is, yes, we have to come into that. We are the expert. And then what's the thought leadership piece? But I always like to take clients to the third one is, what are you doing to show that you're human? I mean, especially when you're up on a stage like this. Yeah. I'm touchable. I'm reachable. I'm human. I make mistakes. I do, all of that. And I love that you're doing that, because there's been times I've done pictures or videos when I'm out with Luna, my youngest dog, walking, and I've got this baseball cap. It is so torn up, and I'm going to wear it until the very last thread, because I have a small head and I have a hard time having baseball caps. So I hang on to and I can't walk without a baseball cap. I think I'm going to fall over if I took my baseball cap off and walked without a baseball cap. But it's the same thing. I mean, I'm out there walking. There's no makeup. I mean, in the wintertime, no, I'm not sweating because it's cold, but I wear the ragged baseball cap, and this is what you are going to get. And I think that's one of the biggest things, all of us, especially us entrepreneurs, as we're posting on social media, we don't need to show up perfect all the time. We don't always have to do a video. Write a post then if you're not in the mood to do a video, or take it into a blog, or we have all these options. It's just so important of staying out of our heads and getting down into our bodies. And what feels for us is when the audience will just embrace it and just soak it up. They'll just soak it up. I love that. I love that you're out there walking in the morning, getting all sweaty and giving. I love it. Love it. I love it.
Or in the garden with a chainsaw.
Oh, yeah, in the garden. Yeah, I saw that. I posted, it was like it's overgrown in some areas. Yes. It's funny. The first time Janice and I had a call together a couple of years ago, after meeting on LinkedIn, you had just came in from your garden.
Yeah.
So when I hear your name, I think of garden, because I know how important that is to you, is a garden. In the summertime, when I'm doing my little container gardening and I'm talking to them and, maybe doing a little bit, I'm thinking of you, because it's the garden, the representation of the garden. But anyways, before we move on, where can everybody get in touch with you?
They can connect with me here on LinkedIn. I am Janice Sutherland. It's very easy. That's kind of my happy place. You can get my website, janicesutherland.com. I have a lot of free resources on there as well. So handouts, I think I've got like 10 strategies to be successful in leadership when you're grown, you know, things like that. So I always come from a mature perspective, because there's a lot of talk out there about the aging population, but no one talking about how do we age successfully in leadership or careers. You know, it talks about trying to employ more older people, but how do we stay relevant? What do we do? How do we do it? How do we make sure we're happy? Because I don't want to work forever. Not like that. You know, it's not for me. It's not in my wheelhouse. So and my friends like, I want to be, I tell people I want to be ambitiously laid back. I have ambition. I'm still ambitious, but I want to focus that ambition on something else.
Yeah, I love it. You know, I'm the same way. I will be working for a long time, but I want to be at choice of how I'm working, how that day looks like, all of that. You know, I mean, it's a little more difficult when we're in Michigan again in the winter time, but you know, it's being at choice and seasonally grow with the seasons and how you want this to be ambitious and ambitiously laid back. I like that. I'm going to be borrowing that and giving you credit. All right. Before we wrap the show up, Janice, what are your steps moving forward to really keep claiming that beautiful, bold voice of yours?
Oh, as I said, it's my 60 years of fabulousness. It's the road to 60 years of fabulousness. So this year I have planned quite a few activities that put me center forward. My husband just says, book it. That's what you want to do. Book it. He's given up now. He's given up fighting. So for me, it's just constantly reminding myself that I already am a success. You know, I do not need to prove myself to anybody but me. And then I'm not improving myself to me, because I am a success. Am I living the life I want on my terms? Tick. Yes. So that's my success. That's my success. And as long as I keep feeling like that, that's the move. That's the way I'll keep on moving. Sometimes I feel like, as we said, maybe I should be doing more. Maybe I should be talking more. You know, maybe I should be on the stage. But I'm like, the effort that I need to do to put that in, to get that, do I really want to put that effort in? If the answer's no, then you're good where you are. You know, so I'm happy. And I think we were talking off air again about your success measure. Your success can be being happy where you are right now. It doesn't have to be the next step. It doesn't have to be moving on to something we perceive to be bigger and better. It could be great where you are right now.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, we were talking before we came on, and I always go to the phone analogy. You know, we go to Verizon or wherever, and we get these phones, and then by the time you drive from the store and pull up in the driveway, you're like, oh, I can't wait for the next phone, because you know technology changing is like. But what's wrong with right now in this moment? And that for me would be, that's where that belief comes in. Not saying, okay, today, but I'm going to be even better over here. I'll be even better when I lose 20 pounds. I'll be even better when I hit 6 figures in the business. I'll be even, that's where we rob ourselves of the worth, the belief, the confidence. And that is, quite frankly, in my opinions and in my world, that's when olive oil is feeding Popeye the spinach. We're feeding our inner critic that spinach, and those arms and that is just blowing up. So yeah, it's just really being good where you are now. And I'm all about growth, but getting clear on that growth. And it's like, you know, you and I were talking before we came on. I said, oh yeah, you know, our next levels. But what happens if we're good at this level right here and now?
Yeah.
And staying at this level, but become better at this level.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, just to add to that a little bit, because you made me giggle when you talked about the weight, because I had put weight on, menopause, I put weight on, and I'm like, I could spend my life trying to lose this weight, but who am I losing it for? Am I happy where I am? Do I have clothes that fit? Do I have clothes that I'm happy how I look in? Then yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm not at that. Who are you trying to impress?
Yes. Well, a lot of that impressing is usually societal pressures.
Yeah.
You know, sit upright, don't ruffle feathers, cross your legs. Supposed to be small because when you are big, then you're viewed as being lazy and you know, all that bullshit. Literally, I'm going to call it out. It's just all. I'm not even going to say BS. It's bullshit. And we all do fall into it. It's coming at us left and right, 5,000 millions of times, front, back, top, and everything. But it does come down to breathing and getting really clear of your self-belief and trust, your trust, and what you want to be doing. Oh my gosh, Janice, thank you so much for being here. This is way long overdue between Kim and Janice, way long overdue. And before we sign off, go ahead, let's say it. When is your birthday?
4th of November. I'm a Scorpio, but I'm a Scorpio baby.
Okay. You know, we're going to celebrate you coming into my circle.
Look, I'm celebrating. I have from the time 2024 hits, I have been celebrating that whole year. This year is all about me.
Well, okay. So you're turning 60. I'm turning 65 this year.
Okay.
And I'm turning 65 in December. So we have got
very close. Yes.
Birthdays going on. So you and I are going to be celebrating. We're going to be letting everyone know we're celebrating. And we are just going to just have a great old time.
Fabulous.
Yes. Thank you, Janice, so much for being here. Everyone, please reach out. And if you're not on Janice's newsletter, I love your newsletter. I mean, I've got one. I have it printed off over there because sometimes I like to hold and read. Please get on her newsletter, the wisdom that she places out. And by the way, you do not have to be over 50 to receive and take away the nuggets that Janice is providing in her newsletter. We need to come and define success. I don't care if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. I know some women in their 70s that have walked away from C-suite jobs that are running amazing businesses. Define it on your terms. So if you're not connected with Janice on LinkedIn, get connected. Go ahead and get her blog or newsletter, wherever you want to call it, every week. I love it. And thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kim.
Oh, and I'll see you right here next week. Same time, same place.